When I was in my early 20s, I used to jog through a massive cemetery called Hillside, just outside of Philly, when I came home from Temple U to visit my mom. I loved jogging through there because it was so quiet and peaceful, aside from the sounds of nature. One very late afternoon, almost dusk, I was jogging through the main part of the cemetery and started to move along a small service road deeper in the cemetery, about 5 miles long, that connects to another cemetery in an adjacent town called Ardsley Cemetery. There is roughly 100 yards of uncut grassland weeds on both sides of the little road that lead to dense forests, with one side, on the left, leading to the fenced-off railroad tracks surrounded by trees that ran through the area. As I approached midpoint, I noticed a teenish girl sitting on a massive dead log, stripped of bark, that must have been dragged out somehow close to the road after falling in the woods. She was distinctly wearing 70s clothing, a retro fad in the early 90s, with massive bell bottoms, scruffy white blouse, greasy sandy blonde hair parted in the middle, and leather sandals. She did not face me as I approached and just kept her head facing the dark woods across from the other side of the road. But I know she must have heard me hitting the pavement as I approached. So now, we are the only people on this old little service road, with no one in front or behind as I passed between the two cemeteries. As I approached her and crossed her line of sight, she quickly shifted her eyes toward me as I said hi. And I was shocked, stunned, blasted by the weirdness of her face, with larger than normal eyes, a tiny nose, thin small mouth, and the whiteness of her skin and her eyes. They were white blue, like a Siberian husky, with massive dark rings around the irises. She said nothing back and just stared at me, expressionless, as I stumbled past. I say stumbled because I immediately felt this force hit my perception when we locked eyes, which made everything super detailed, kind of like when you're tripping. I could no longer hear the sound of my own shoes hitting the pavement anymore for those endless seconds. Deafness. No sounds, not even the crickets. I continued along the road, past her, toward the other cemetery for about 5 to 7 seconds, and my curiosity got the better of me, so I turned around to jog back. But she was completely gone. Nothing there but this huge, dead log. I checked all around it. Nothing. Now, I know the area quite well, and there's absolutely no way she could have left my new line of sight unless she sprinted the 100 yards to the woods in less than 7 seconds. Impossible, especially in her clothes. I scanned the tree line, and nothing. Just darkening woods as the sun fell below the tree line, but a feeling I was being watched. Again, no sound of crickets. Hairs on my neck and arms standing on end despite heavy sweating from the run. I think I did a 7-minute mile out of there all the way back home before the sun completely dropped. It gives me chills every time I think about that face and those piercing eyes. Suffice to say, I never felt the urge to jog through there again. This isn't anything like Annabelle, and might be a bit anticlimactic, but bear with me. My grandmother was a Wiccan and could hear, see, and sense things, and that was passed down to me and one of my cousins. I've seen, heard, and experienced a lot of things, but nothing really bad until my mom had gotten a little doll from Africa that she kept on the top of her entertainment center. I had bad vibes about that doll from day one and told my mom a few times that she should just get rid of it. Being the extreme realist she is, she always said it was just a doll. She liked it, and it was directly from Africa, and was staying where it was. It was initially just a sense of unease, but that feeling grew stronger to where you could feel the hate and malevolence this doll was giving out. It came to a head one evening when I was over visiting. This doll sat in the center of the unit looking out over the living room. My mom was at the far end of the living room, and I was in the kitchen getting a drink when she went silent in the middle of a sentence. I came back in to see her standing and staring at the doll. It was no longer in the center, but now was at the edge and had turned 90 degrees and appeared to be staring at my mom with such a fierce hatred that even my mom could feel it. She got as far as, "What?" when the doll fell off the entertainment unit and onto the floor. My mom let out a small shriek while I grabbed a sheet and threw it over the doll and called my grandma to let her know what had just happened. She said she'd be right there and to wait outside until she got there. Even getting to the front door was a challenge, as this thing was draining the energy in the room, and we were getting weaker until we got outside and things were a little better. My grandma got there in about 10 minutes, and I followed her into the house. It was kinda as my grandmother was a 4'11" sweet little English lady with a sweet disposition, and had never a bad word about anyone. She walked into the living room, and with a strong voice I had never heard from her before, "All right, that's enough." She walked over, lifted up the sheet, grabbed the doll, and put it in a small beige bag that she was carrying with her. She walked over to my mom and, reverting back to the sweet little old English lady, "Don't worry, dear. I'll cleanse the doll, and you won't have to worry anymore." Then she got back in her van and drove off. My mom was still a little freaked and spent the night at my place, as there was no way she was staying in that house at night. Went to my grandparents' house about a week later. My grandma went up to the attic and came back down with the doll. My mom shrank back, but Grandma handed the doll to me. I took it and felt absolutely nothing. Whatever she had done to the doll worked. My mom tentatively took it and relaxed. It's back at my mom's house now, but not on the entertainment center. It's on a bookshelf in a well-lighted corner of the living room. On Grape Lane stands a house which used to serve as an infirmary for the people of Whitby. It is a pretty street, but not one you would be wise to linger alone on at twilight, sniffing the evening air. In 1917, a local girl by the name of Mary Clark was sent to the local baker with her father's dinner. It was normal in those days to send food to the bakers during the summer to save fuel. The girl was well known in the town for her bonny appearance and her long golden hair, which she brushed morning and evening 100 times, dabbing in a drop of Dreyfus patent hair oil until it shone like burnished gold. The baker, being busy, told the girl to put the food into the oven herself. To his horror, he saw a lock of her hair fall into the flames. In an instant, her whole head was engulfed in flames. In a panic, she ran out of the shop, the wind fanning the flames, and in seconds her clothes were burning fiercely. The baker, too, ran from the shop, but could not catch the girl before she had been horrendously burnt. He managed to beat out the flames, then walk her onto the hospital, which stood on Grape Lane. With each step, lumps of her burnt skin dropped off, providing a tasty snack for the dogs of the town, who apparently followed the rich cooking smell, flocking around Mary and wagging their tails, howling. Within an hour, the poor girl died, apparently only worried about the state of her hair. Occasionally, in the evening, the ghost of Mary Clark appears on Grape Lane. At first, a flame appears floating in the air, Then the figure of the girl is seen, along with the sound of crackling flames and howling of the hungry dogs. For a second, Mary will look into your eyes and smile at you before disappearing, leaving a noxious smell of burning hair and flesh behind her. In the 1930s, the Endeavor Public House, which stands near Grape Lane, was burned to the ground. The family managed to escape safely because the mother was awoken in the dead of night by a dream or premonition of a beautiful blonde girl shaking her and urging her to save her children. Although rebuilt twice since, the building is still said to be haunted to this day.